In the annals of true crime, few cases captivate the imagination quite like that of D.B. Cooper.
On a cold November evening in 1971, an ordinary commercial flight became the stage for an extraordinary act of defiance.
A man, seemingly out of nowhere, hijacked a plane, extorted a massive ransom, and then, in a daring leap from the aircraft, disappeared into the turbulent Pacific Northwest night. What followed was a massive, unprecedented search and an investigation that spanned decades, leaving behind a persistent question: who was D.B. Cooper, and what became of him? His story remains the only unsolved skyjacking in history. It was November 24, 1971, the day before Thanksgiving, a time when many were traveling to be with family. At Portland International Airport in Oregon, passengers boarded Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305, a Boeing 727 bound for Seattle, Washington. Among them was a man who purchased his ticket under the name Dan Cooper. He was dressed impeccably in a dark suit, white shirt, and black tie, his appearance unremarkable amidst the bustling pre-holiday crowd. Little did anyone know, this seemingly ordinary passenger harbored an extraordinary and dangerous plan. Taking his seat, 18C, Dan Cooper was described as being in his mid-40s, with olive skin and dark eyes, partially obscured by dark sunglasses. He carried only a briefcase and a small carry-on bag, minimal luggage for a traveler. He ordered a bourbon and soda, calmly sipping it as the plane took off. His demeanor was polite, even charming, making small talk with the flight attendant, Florence Schaffner. There was no indication of the sinister intentions that lay hidden beneath his composed exterior, or the explosive device he claimed to possess. Once the plane was airborne, Cooper made his move. He handed flight attendant Florence Schaffner a folded note. Initially, she tucked it away, assuming it was just a lonely businessman attempting to flirt. But Cooper leaned in, telling her, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." His calm, firm tone conveyed the seriousness of the situation. Schaffner opened the note, which was neatly printed, and saw the chilling words, "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I will use it if necessary. I want you to sit next to me." The hijacking had officially begun. Schaffner sat beside him, and Cooper calmly opened his briefcase, revealing an array of red cylinders, wires, and a large battery, confirming his threat. He then laid out his precise demands: $200,000 in $20 bills, 4 parachutes, 2 main and 2 reserve, and a fuel truck ready to refuel the aircraft upon landing. He instructed her to relay these demands to the cockpit, emphasizing that no one was to be contacted before the plane landed in Seattle-Tacoma Airport, where the ransom and parachutes were to be delivered. The flight crew immediately contacted air traffic control, setting in motion a frantic effort to meet Cooper's terms. As the Boeing 727 circled Seattle-Tacoma Airport for nearly 2 hours, authorities scrambled to gather the ransom money and parachutes. The $200,000 was collected from various banks, and the FBI diligently photographed each of the $20 bills, recording their serial numbers, a crucial step for any future identification. Parachutes were sourced from a local skydiving school. Finally, at 5:39 p.m., Flight 305 landed. Cooper ordered all passengers to be released in exchange for the money and parachutes, a key condition of his plan. The exchange was made on the tarmac, setting the stage for the next phase of his audacious escape. Once the money and parachutes were delivered to the plane, Cooper allowed the 36 passengers and 2 flight attendants to disembark. Only the pilot, co-pilot, flight engineer, and 1 remaining flight attendant, Tina Mucklow, remained on board with Cooper. He carefully inspected the parachutes, rejecting 1 military-style parachute in favor of a sport parachute, indicating a degree of knowledge about skydiving equipment. With the ransom in hand, meticulously counted into 3 bundles, Cooper was ready for the second and final leg of his journey. The atmosphere on board was thick with tension, as the crew awaited his next instructions. Cooper then outlined his specific, technical instructions for the second flight. He demanded the aircraft fly southeast, at a precise altitude of 10,000 feet, an airspeed of 100 knots, with the landing gear down and flaps extended to 15 degrees. These precise settings were designed to facilitate a successful parachute jump,
suggesting careful planning and perhaps a familiarity with aviation and skydiving. The route would take them over a dark and densely forested region of southwest Washington state, a challenging and unforgiving landscape for any jumper, especially at night. At 7:40 p.m., the plane took off, heading towards the unknown. Around 8 p.m., with the plane flying over a storm-ridden area, Cooper made his final preparations. He tied one of the parachutes around himself and secured the duffel bag containing the $200,000 ransom to his body. He then ordered the remaining crew to the cockpit and instructed them not to emerge until they knew he was gone. At approximately 8:13 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, an indicator light in the cockpit flashed, signaling that the rear stairs of the Boeing 727 had been lowered. Moments later, D.B. Cooper leaped from the plane, vanishing into the turbulent, rain-swept night over southwest Washington state. The crew felt a slight change in air pressure, confirming his exit. Upon confirming Cooper's jump, the crew immediately notified air traffic control, triggering one of the most extensive manhunts in American history. The FBI swiftly launched Operation Norjack, a massive search and investigation effort. Authorities believed Cooper landed in a rugged, heavily wooded area near Ariel, Washington, within a 10-square-mile zone. Thousands of law enforcement officers, military personnel, and volunteers descended upon the region, conducting aerial, ground, and water searches. They scoured dense forests, treacherous ravines, and the cold waters of the Columbia River, hoping to find Cooper, his parachutes, or any trace of the ransom money. The scale of the search was unprecedented. Despite the immense resources dedicated to Operation Norjack, the initial search efforts proved futile. The remote, unforgiving terrain, coupled with the stormy weather conditions on the night of the jump, made it incredibly difficult to find any definitive evidence. Searchers battled harsh elements, thick underbrush, and the vastness of the wilderness. Weeks turned into months, and months into years, but no trace of Cooper, the remaining ransom money, or the parachutes ever surfaced. The FBI continued to follow leads and investigate potential suspects, but the trail went cold, and the D.B. Cooper case began its ascent into legend. Then, 8 years later, in February 1980, the case suddenly reignited. A young boy named Brian Ingram, while on a family picnic at Tina Bar along the Columbia River, made an astonishing discovery. Partially buried in the sand, he found 3 bundles of $20 bills. The serial numbers on these bills matched the list of the ransom money that the FBI had meticulously photographed back in 1971. The find was significant, providing the first tangible evidence related to the hijacking since Cooper's jump. This discovery, however, only deepened the mystery rather than solving it. The discovery at Tina Bar presented more questions than answers. The found amount totaled $5,800. This meant that the vast majority of the ransom, $194,200, was still missing. How did these specific bundles end up at Tina Bar? Had Cooper buried them? Did they wash downstream from his landing site? Forensic analysis suggested the money had likely washed downriver, indicating Cooper might have landed miles away from the initial search area or that the money became separated from him during the jump or subsequent events. Regardless, Cooper himself, along with the parachutes and the remaining cash, remained elusive, fueling speculation about his fate. For 36 years, the FBI actively pursued the D.B. Cooper case, creating a meticulously detailed profile of the mysterious hijacker. They theorized he was likely an experienced paratrooper or someone with military training, given his calm demeanor, specific demands, and knowledge of the plane's flight parameters. Hundreds of suspects were investigated, interviewed, and subsequently cleared. Leads emerged and faded, often leading to dead ends. In 2016, after exhausting all credible leads and facing dwindling resources, the FBI officially suspended its active investigation into the D.B. Cooper case, though it remains open to new, credible evidence. The file is considered inactive, but not closed. With no definitive answers, numerous theories have filled the void. Some believe Cooper, an experienced paratrooper, successfully executed his plan, escaped with the remaining money, and started a new life, never to be heard from again. Others argue that the conditions of the jump, night, rain, low temperature, and dense forest, made survival highly improbable, suggesting he likely perished shortly after landing, his body and the money consumed by the unforgiving wilderness. The FBI's official conclusion aligns with the latter, positing that he likely did not survive the jump. Yet, without a body or the missing money, the possibility of a successful escape lingers, fueling the enduring fascination.
The D.B. Cooper case remains an enduring symbol of defiance and an ultimate vanishing act.
It's a tale that has been endlessly re-examined, debated, and dramatized in books, films, and documentaries. The lack of a clear resolution allows for endless speculation, giving the story a mythical quality.
Was he a daring criminal mastermind or a desperate individual? A folk hero or a cold-blooded opportunist?
The case continues to fascinate both amateur sleuths and professional investigators, reminding us that sometimes, even in our technologically advanced world, a person can truly disappear without a trace, leaving behind only questions.